Welcome to Screw the Commute, the entrepreneurial podcast dedicated to getting you out of the car and into the money. With your host, lifelong entrepreneur and multimillionaire, Tom Antion.
Hey everybody, it's Tom here with episode 372 of Screw the Commute podcast. I'm here with Mike Hayashi. He's known as the Flying Hawaiian. I've known this guy for a long time. And he's a martial arts expert. We're going to hear all about that, but he's been asked for his autograph. Wow. Well, it was an eighth grader or an 8-year-old kid who thought he was Jackie Chan. So he'll tell you more about that later. But I hope you didn't miss episode 371. That was Derek Depker. He is an audiobook expert, and boy, people loved him. And we also had a webinar with him just yesterday, I think it was. Yeah, so don't miss episode 371. Now, how would you like to hear your own voice here on Screw the Commute? Well, if the show's helped you out at all in your business or given you ideas to help you start a business, we want to hear about it. Visit screwthecommute.com and look for a little blue sidebar that says send a voicemail. Click on it. Talk into your phone or your computer and tell how the show's helped you out, and put your website in there and you'll get a big shout out in your own voice on a future episode of Screw the Commute. And pick up a copy of our automation ebook. This is a book we sell for $27, but it's yours free for listening to the show. And we actually figured it out a couple years ago. It's saved one of the tips. Just one of the tips has saved me 7.5 million keystrokes over the years. So, and all the other tips help me just handle my business lightning fast, grab customers from people that are too slow to get back to them. So check that out at screwthecommute.com/automate free, screwthecommute.com/automate free. And also pick up a copy of our podcast app while you're over there. You can put it on your cell phone or tablet and take us with you on the road. Now, I know everybody's freaking out because of the pandemic, and there's a lot of pain and suffering out there, but my students and myself haven't been affected that much because we know how to sell at home, from home. And I've been actually teaching this for 22 years, been selling on the internet for 26 years since it started. And 12 years ago, I decided to punish myself really bad and get a license school, 3 years of living hell, to background checks and criminal checks and financial checks to get the license for my school. But it's the only licensed dedicated internet marketing school in the country, probably the world. And it would be a great legacy gift for a child or a grandchild, because nowadays they're mortgaging their house and they're getting in deep debt to go to a traditional college that just teaches them how to protest, basically. So you don't want that. You want them to have a set of skills, because most of them get out and they have to compete for jobs at Starbucks. Well, my school teaches these hardcore skills that are in demand by every company on earth, with email marketing and chat bots and blogs and everything you can think of, shopping carts that have to do with small business and business e-commerce. So we have people before they're a couple months into it are making thousands of dollars a month as a side hustle and haven't even graduated yet. So check that out at imtcva.org. All right, let's get to the main event. Mike Hayashi is here, and since 1988, Mike has offered 2,500 seminars to over 500,000 women at over 525 universities and companies in 27 states and 4 countries. All right, so this guy's been around. AT&T, Motorola, Apple, Four Seasons. I mean, he's got a massive list of companies you've heard of. And he's also a retired stuntman. How do you like that? After one movie, he got $45 and all he could eat. and he used his martial arts skills apparently, and as he taught high school for 8 years, and he only had a knife pulled on him twice. That's pretty good for most high schools. And he holds a 7th degree karate black belt and has only broken his ribs one time. That's excellent. And he's been on 450 television appearances. nominated for an Emmy for his weekly cable show in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'll let him tell you about when he was attacked by two really dumb armed men. All right, so Mike, how you doing, man? You ready to screw? The Commute.
Tom. Never better, buddy.
Yeah.
Never better. Good to hear your voice.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time, man. So tell everybody what you're doing now, and then we'll take you back through the ranks. And I know they're very interested in all these appearances on TV and you've made, because that's publicity, and that's a really way to make yourself into a celebrity and get a lot of business. So tell them what you're doing now, and then we'll take you back. I think we're under helicopter attack now. I don't know if you hear that, but if you hear a loud explosion, they just missiled me.
Well, I'll tell you what, thanks for having me, Tom. Thanks for having me on. You and I go back a long ways.
Yeah.
It's funny. When I started doing this back in the 80s, I think it was 88, I figured out I am not the best karate person in the world. I figured it out really early. I'm not Chuck Norris. I'm not Jet Li. My thought process was, if Bruce Lee was alive and challenged me, he could take me out in a couple of seconds. If Jet Li came to me, I would say, I'm sorry, I give up. You win. If Sarah Lee challenged me to a fight, I would probably give it to her.
Yeah, but you could have maybe taken that 8-year-old that thought you were Jackie Chan.
That's true. That's true. I could take the 8-year-old. I broke a board and I signed the board. But what I figured out really early is that there are so many tremendously talented martial artists. There are so many gifted Navy SEALs and ex-Army Rangers and ex-cops and FBI. There are so many people out there that have those skill sets. So I wasn't trying to compete with them. I did for the first few years. And then I realized, you know what? I can't compete with them. I don't have their credentials as a police officer for 30 years on the beat. I don't have a Navy SEALs cross and something that I can show that I was, overseas fighting in Afghanistan. But what I do have is three things. One, I love to teach. So I have a master's in education, and I went with that route to kind of tell people, I know how to teach you. Nothing else, I can teach you. I also taught special ed for 8 years in high schools, Chicago and some other places. So I could teach you no matter where you are in life and no matter
or how dumb you are.
Or how hard you are to teach. Right, I can teach you. I've been studying the martial arts since I was 10. So I got into it when I was very luckily in Japan. My father was in the Air Force.
Wow.
We were stationed there, walked into the youth center. Here's a judo class and a karate class going on. So I got into it very early just because I was there. Fell in love with it, and then got into different martial arts in high school, into college, went to Taekwondo, Shotokan, Jiu-Jitsu, Muda Kwan, little Tai Chi. And then when I got to Phoenix, Arizona, I was teaching high school, and I started a karate club there, and I started going to the health clubs. So some of you might want to start small. I went to the health clubs and said, listen, I can help promote your health club. Let me teach here. I can do two things: run a martial arts class, and we'll put me in the window so they can all see it going on. And then I'll do a self-defense class for the women. And all I want is a little PR, and you can charge me rent per month if you want. But I was helping promote that health club by having something that the other health clubs didn't have.
Right.
Come on in, you get a personal trainer, but there's self-defense classes for the women. There's kids classes for the karate. So I became part of their marketing plan. I took that, and when I decided to start what I've been doing for all these years, I started thinking, okay, how can I market this so that it's a little different than calling your brother who was in the Green Beret to teach you a couple of tricks? How can I be a little different than going to a police block watch meeting and just getting the safety tips of what not to do and when to call 911? So I started creating it. And when I came up with Take Control, it was designed for three things. One, it's designed for a person who doesn't have a lot of time. You know this, Tom. Who has time to study the way I did when I was a kid and growing up? I was 4 days a week, 2-3 hours a night. The kids don't have that kind of time. They got soccer, they got gymnastics, they got t-ball, they got things going on that you and I never worried about. But the kids are more busy than ever. So I decided, okay, so they don't have a lot of time. They want something that works. So I made it very streetwise. I didn't call it a karate class. I didn't call it a martial arts class. It was something that you want some really street smarts. I'll make you smarter. I'll make you safer. and I'll give you a few tricks and tips that just help you get, I call it get home for supper techniques. Just get home for supper techniques. Yeah, I'm not going to make you a black belt. We're not breaking boards and bricks with our heads. We're going to make you so that somebody comes at you, you know what to do before they touch you and if they touch you, So I started doing that. And first, maybe you went the route too, Tom, with your disciplines, but I started with the guys first. I was teaching police officers. I did some time teaching some FBI people, the National Guard, the sheriff's deputies. And I found, here's the problem. You got egos and
right.
all across the room. Oh, I could teach this better. And I'll do it for free, or I'll do it for half the price. So I said, okay, I'm not going to compete with this because they feel like they're the experts. They don't need it. So I started going to companies. I think Honeywell is my first. And I said, you know what? I'd love to teach the women that work at this company. You've got them traveling internationally. They're going to airports. They're going to hotels. If something happens to them, what does it cost this company? So I said, oh, okay. If you can get 20, 30 women signed up, I'll cover it. I was talking to head of HR. I said, okay. So I did a little demo. And then 2 weeks later, he calls me and said, Mike, I got some news. I said, oh, you didn't get 30 people signed up? He goes, oh, no. We've got 300 signed up. Can you do more than one class? Our room will only hold 100. I said, sure. Honeywell was my very first corporate gig. And then I had, then I said, you know what? I want Motorola, because in those days, Motorola was king, at least here in Arizona. 5 locations. They were the second highest employer in the Valley. And so I said, oh, I want a letter from Motorola to help me get into IBM and Apple and Intel. So I begged and pleaded. I went to every manager I could find. Here's something your listeners could take advantage of. Learn from the people that have been around for a long time, like you and I. It doesn't take one phone call sometimes. It takes merciless tenacity.
Right.
Oh, I talked to every manager I could find for 3-4 months. In fact, a lot of them are on a first name basis now. I call, how you doing? Hey, forget it, Mike. I don't have any more money. So I got some guys still just hanging up on me. And then I got a call. I got this call from a woman. I didn't recognize her name. She says, listen, I'd like to book you for some seminars in about a month and a half. We have a national security and safety month going on for Motorola across the country.
Yeah.
I'd like to hire you. I said, wow. I said, thank you. I said, who are you again? She told me, she said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm the head of security for the Southwest. So 5 different states.
Oh, man.
She said, all right. So I said, I'd love to do this. So how did you get my name? She says, well, I started asking around. Here's another tip. Be nice to everybody.
Right.
I talked to so many people. A lot of them hung up on me. She said, I started asking around. Your name kept popping up. And they said 3 things. 1, he's very likable. The people will love him when they get him into class. Number 2, he knows what he's talking about. Number 3, he is persistent. No matter what happens, he'll do whatever you need to do. And I said, okay. So
right.
all these people that were really rude on the phone, never thought about it, never hung up on them and didn't say anything. Just next,
right.
Just call the next one. I said, I'm in. She goes, well, here, be careful what you wish for. She said, I have to ask you 2 things before you say yes. I said, shoot. She goes, number 1, you got to travel wherever I tell you to travel, whenever I tell you to travel. I said, no worries. I don't mind flying. In those days, I don't mind flying. Right. I don't mind getting up early. She says, okay. Number 2, you have to train every shift. I said, that's all right. What does that entail? She goes, well, your first event is 4 a.m. Your second event is 8 a.m. Your third event is noon. Your fourth is 5 p.m. And your last one is around 8 o'clock. You should be out of here by 10. I said, wow, 5 events in one day. I said, mine are pretty exhausting. I said, but I can do it. Don't worry, I'll do that. She goes, all right, we're going to do this for a month. So you've got at least 3 weeks every day, 5 days a week, doing 5 a day.
Oh,
now, this is when it was like, 20 degrees out at 2 in the morning. So I said, yes. I forget what I charged, Tom, but it was way too little. I did that for 3.5 weeks, nonstop, 5 a day.
Oh, my God.
By the time I was done, Motorola, whenever I wanted something, I just called them.
Yeah.
They just say, hey, this guy will do whatever's necessary. I did their HR directors international conference, 500 HR people from around the world for 5 minutes. I said, how long do you need? 45 minutes, an hour? She goes, oh, no. You're going to kick the meeting off on Friday morning. So we need you for 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes.
Maybe 6.
And I don't know about you, but you're like me. I said, the less time, the harder it is to do.
Exactly.
It's hard. I said, what can I do for these 500 directors in 5 minutes? She goes, Mike, just get them on their feet, get them moving, pump them up, make them happy that they flew all the way from China, Malaysia, or wherever they came in from, entertain them, but give them something that you remember and take home with them. I said, okay. So I practiced and rehearsed that. Those 5 minutes were tough, but I got them on their feet. And, you learn from doing it when people ask you to do something that's never been done. And that's what I've always enjoyed.
There's so many good lessons here, Mike, for a lot of the generation coming up. Is you just kept saying yes, 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 in the face of people saying no, no, no. You kept saying yes, 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 and then when you got your chance, you said yes, 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 and then you made it happen. And look, it's so many people are quit too early. They say, oh, it's hard, and a lot of the generations have always wanted to make it easier on their kids than what they had.
And we do, and you do. You
do,
can't help
but
it,
but going too far with that is not helping them in the long run, because that's when they go to drugs and alcohol and therapy, and because they can't take normal everyday pressures.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and you've done this too. You've built a reputation of, you just say your name, people understand the value. The people understand the proficient attitude you have about everything you do and everything you're going to teach. You have a following because they understand that you know what they're talking about. You're not going to BS them, and if they want something that's pure and it's solid, you're the guy to go to. So I wanted to do the same thing, and over the years, it's been, you can ask my wife, it's been a roller coaster, up and down. Because to be honest with you, when they hear self-defense, two things: one, either I'm too old, or I'm not coordinated, or I don't want to get hurt, or I don't want to, get all sweaty. They have this concept of, this old style martial arts class where they put the uniform on and sweat for 3 hours and break boards with their heads. And I had to get that across. No, that's not what we're learning, because very seldom are you going to have that uniform on.
Right.
And be barefoot, ready to go and stretched out. I said, we're talking about in a parking garage, 5 steps. How do you survive getting in and out of your car and to and from wherever you're headed, 4 or 5 times a day for the rest of your life? What do you do when you're in an environment where all of a sudden somebody in the room becomes violent? I don't care what your spouse, how do you handle that? How do you control that fear factor and get calm again? So the things I was teaching was a little different. And it's followed me. I get calls now from people that say, yeah, I took your class back in 91.
And I'm still alive.
I'm wondering, can you teach my grandchild now?
Yeah, and it's so much too about awareness. Everybody. The thing that we said in my class, my friend was co-teaching with me, was get your head out of your apps.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, people walk down the street and they're oblivious. They're getting run over by cars. That's how. I mean,
exactly.
So awareness is really important. I started out in Shur-and-Ryu karate when I was a kid, and I mean, we were walking in the winter down streams barefoot and freezing our feet off and breaking rock on our
make it tougher, right?
Yeah.
Make it tougher.
Since then, I've been just a variety, like you, just a variety of styles to get the job done. I don't care about the art of it. I want to walk away alive. That's
exactly. Yeah. And I've been attacked 3 times, and
tell us about that.
Knock on wood, I'm still here. I had a knife pulled on me once, and I took the knife away. It was a reflex. It's like, I didn't wait to find out, does he want my money? Does he want my car? Does he want me? I just decided, I just took the knife. Now, to be able to do that with confidence and be able to distract him, that was what I did. I distracted him. And when you distract somebody and they're not really good with the knife to begin with, once you take a weapon from somebody, it's amazing how fast they move the other direction.
Yeah, because see, a lot of them are untrained and they're low lifes. And that weapon is their whole power in life.
Right.
If it disappears, they like just fall apart. Most of them.
Yeah, and I've had a guy come at me in a in a public place on a dance floor in a nightclub with a broken bottle in his hand, screaming and pointing at me, saying he's going to cut me up. And I found out later, when I disarmed him and had the bouncers do their job, that I look like his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. and how dare I'm looking and smiling at his new girlfriend while I'm dancing. Well, I smile at everybody when I'm dancing.
you gotta quit looking like people with Jackie Chan and the old boyfriend. What's wrong
Well,
with you?
when you got a guy that's had a few too many, they,
Yeah.
their thought process is a little warped. So I just happen to be looking in their direction, I guess, and look like his ex girlfriend's old boyfriend. And then I had one time, two guys, two baseball bats, front and behind me, coming after me. I was delivering pizzas between my sophomore and junior year in college, just doing my job, running up to the door, bring the pizzas, and they cornered me front and back, and they swung at me. I ducked, came up. Here's a good lesson: if something doesn't work, modify and adapt. I hit this guy, Tom. I hit this guy square in the face as hard as I could, the way I've been training since I was 10 years old. Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. He shook his head and just, and he lifted the bat up again.
Uh-huh.
Like he's swinging. So thank goodness I hit him in the throat with another technique that I learned from one of my own students, because she had arthritis and couldn't make a fist. So we modified the technique for her, but that's when I used and dropped him. But when I'm teaching people, I have to tell people, you know what? You might never, ever need this stuff, but it's good to know. It's like knowing how to change a flat tire.
Yeah, and I mean, and the awareness,
like CPR.
The awareness part of it will maybe ensure that you never have to use it, because if you walk, I mean, they did a study with showing a bunch of criminals videos of different people, and every criminal separately picked the ones that they would go after because of just the way they were walking down the street.
Yep, exactly. It's body language. Yeah, we talk a lot about body language.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about what makes you a target. I have a whole system of what makes you, and what's the 3 ways, number 1, 2, 3, that you can not look like a target or not appear to be the target. Because if they don't pick you, that's 90% of it right there.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They don't go through the phone book and say, "Ooh, I like that name, Tom Antion. I like that." They choose their victims very clear, just like a lion hunting for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
They don't just pick the fastest zebra running around. They know what they know what they're looking for.
When I had the nightclub is when I got the most real life experience. I was in over 100 violent encounters with bikers trying to kill me, gunfights, knife fights, and but one of the things we teach is with multiple attacker theory is don't get in the middle of 2 bad guys or more. Try to keep them. So here I'm stuck with 2 bad guys, 2 bikers trying to kill me, and one's standing at my front door, one's in the lobby, and I'm in between them, and I'm thinking, oh man, this is not good. But they, in a nightclub, a lot of them are drunk a little bit or high on drugs or something, so they don't have the best. So the guy in the lobby decides to attack me, and I just took one step to the side and tipped a chair. And he tripped over it, knocked his buddy out the door, and I locked the door. That's how I won the.
Boy!
It was like
Yikes.
3 Stooges.
I'm picturing it. I could see you doing it.
Yeah. I just walked and just tipped the chair. We call it debris. Make them fight it if they're going to get to you.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of publicity. You've been on, 450 TV appearances.
Give or take. Yeah, give or take. And then I did some stuff down in Jamaica. They had a lot of crime in Jamaica, and most of them were American tourists. I went down there a few times. Aruba, when Natalie Holloway, that teenage girl from Alabama, was missing for months, and they never found the body. But I went down there because they were losing money left and right from people not going there for vacations.
Yeah, right.
And obviously, the kids weren't going there for spring break. That's a safe island, very safe. This is like the first murder they've had in like 50 years or something like that. So, but everyone panicked when the way the media handled it. Don't go to Aruba. It's a very safe place, but I had to convince the hotel managers and the staffs how to make sure that they're promoting their hotel safely. I mean, and then train the security guards that run around on the beach on the 4-wheelers, how to look for things, But she made some really bad mistakes really quickly. So once she was missing for more than 3-4 weeks, I'm thinking, oh, she's gone, because it's a small island.
Right.
They couldn't find her in 3-4 weeks.
Right.
She's gone. But what I've done over the years too is I've noticed that when I'm training, like I'm training right now, I'm training privately. I mean, all the corporate gigs I had, they've been pushed back, either canceled or pushed back, and there's nothing I can do about that. Yeah. So hopefully they'll start up again next year. I've been told to call back after February. But in the meantime, I'm doing a lot of private lessons, which is kind of nice. It's nice to do one-on-ones again. And I had a family of 3 generations, grandmother, the daughters, and the grandkids. So I was training three
Wow.
different generations. I've got a couple teenage boys that want to be fighters when they get older. I've got another one who was being stalked by her ex-boyfriend. That's really common.
Oh, geez.
Stalked by the ex-boyfriend, and she's just fearful for her life. She changed her name legally, first and last. She changed everything and moved to an apartment with her daughter to get away from this guy. So all she wanted from me is teach me what to do if this guy finds me somehow, and this how to get away from him and get my daughter to safety. So yeah, everything we did, she hit really hard. I could say, picture this guy. What's his name? Picture him. I'm him. And it's just automatic. She could get angry really quickly. But it's nice to kind of go back to where I started, the roots of doing private lessons. I can do that, virtually if I
was going to ask you, did you try any Zoom?
I'm going to be doing that more. I did it a couple times, but a lot of the people that are asking for private lessons are right here in the valley in Arizona. So I'm just driving to them.
Yeah.
We wear masks or space out or whatever we need to do. I'm working on one garage. I did another one in a huge backyard. I did another in their big den, wherever they want to train, their office. Here's something too. I like to put the word out. I did something a couple years back, and I should have pursued it more. I had a CEO call me. He had death threats. He's in an industry where he has to step on a lot of toes. And over the years, he's had multiple death threats. So he's got 2 Navy SEALs that travel with him everywhere.
Wow.
He's got a private jet. They're armed. He's not. He said, I don't carry. I don't believe in me carrying, but they have it. He said, I'm worried about the times that they're not with me.
Right. Yeah.
Or at home, he's worried about his kids getting kidnapped, that kind of thing. So I did a personal training with him once a week, and then another separate one for his 2 teenage boys who are huge, 6'4", 6'5", and I trained with them separately. But I should have pursued that more. I was just so busy with other things that when we ended I should have said, hey, do you have any other CEO buddies that could use the same thing?
Yeah.
Obviously, the price was no object. He didn't care. He said, just tell me what you need, how many weeks. He said, the only thing I would ask, you have to be available. He said, I fly out of town. I'm gone for 2-3 weeks. I'm back in town for 3 days, 4 days. Can I call you and just say, hey, here's when I'm back here in Arizona. We train during one of these days? And I had to kind of bend my schedule around his. But that's okay.
Yeah.
But I should do that. I
think there's going to be more of that coming because the way things are going. I'm telling you, man.
It's horrible. I've got some horror stories. Yeah, and people are getting so angry. They're so anxious. They're so afraid of what is going to happen to their family or what's going to happen. Next 6 months. I told my wife this right when it started back in January or whatever. I told my wife, I said, watch something. I said, and we'll talk about this in a few months. I think the violence in this country, as bad as it is going to go up.
Yeah.
I said, it just has too many, ways for the fires to get lit from both ends. I mean, there's so many angry people now.
Yeah. And nobody's nipping it in the bud like immediately. No. I think it could be nipped in the bud if the people had the guts to do it. But you get some of these mayors that say, "Oh, take over the city for a while. Yeah, have a good time." And then there's bodies all over the place.
I know. It's crazy. I've been watching for news because it doesn't make the news like it used to. You have to dig for something. Yeah. I found a story the other day where somebody went over to check because they thought it was a gas leak. A neighbor was complaining he thought it was a gas leak. So it was a service guy. He went over to check the house and came in, found a dead 14-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy decapitated, Tom. Decapitated. The father had done it. He just went berserk. He just was out of work and frustrated and angry. And the teenage boys, they were probably mouthing off, his 13 or 14-year-old as well. And he just lost it. So that little story was a little bitty blip.
I'm saying, I'm sitting here all day with the news on all day long. I never heard of that. I watch.
There's a bunch of
this stuff. Jesus.
There's a bunch of them. You got to dig. I'm just amazed. And I just saw another one too, where just these violent acts out of nowhere are going to be popping up all the time. People are just more anxious than they've ever been. I think, and maybe in our history. I don't know, but it's bad. And I hate to say it, it's going to get worse. So. I'm teaching privately now. I can't wait for me to be able to get back out and do bigger groups. And
because you can help more people.
I'm probably gonna have to do some of it virtually, I'm sure. But in the meantime, I have 2 things I want to bring up, and maybe somebody out there
I want to ask you
listening.
what you got coming up in the future.
I've got a gentleman that I've known longer than you. I met him back in 88, 87. And he and I go way back. He's loves to train He used to be videos and then, DVDs, and then he did a lot of streaming training, but he's got a company that does that. But he got interested in self-defense and called me and said, listen, Mike, I'm working on something. And I can't even divulge what the weapon is yet. It's going to launch, I think, early next year. But he's talking about this weapon. It's non-lethal. It keeps the guy back, he's like 15 feet away or so. It works quickly. It's an inexpensive type of weapon that's not going to cost somebody, thousands of dollars. It's not a taser, because I worked for Taser for 4 years. So I asked him right away, I said, is it a different type of taser? I go, no, it's different. So he's working on it. And unfortunately, right when COVID got huge, or right at the beginning of summer, is when he was going to launch this thing, and everything had to come to a slowdown, to almost a standstill. So I'm probably going to help him market it when it comes out. I'm hoping first quarter of next year. So if anybody knows groups of people, I'm thinking security guards, I'm thinking realtors, I'm thinking nurses, I'm thinking people that need something to be compact, fit, in their hand, on their, it's non-lethal, so don't have to worry about it having to have a firearms license. It works quickly. It can keep you, 15 feet out to 10 feet out. If anybody has things like that, have them contact you and they can contact me. But I'm going to be looking in the next 3-4 months of just places we can connect with that might be able to want to take a look at this. I know he might still be looking for investors. I think he had a few, but he might be looking for more. And that's one thing I'm looking at to help him promote that. Like I helped launch Taser back in the 90s. They called me and just starting out and say, hey, we need a spokesperson. So I helped that launch that for like 4 years. Wow. And now Taser is like a household word. I think everybody.
Yeah, but do you remember seeing those gypsies out at a Walmart parking lot they're all like 8 of them were living in a station wagon, and they got this big melee with the police, and they were tasing them, but they were taught to roll, and that Taser would come out of them, and then they'd be back fighting. So I don't know.
I missed that. No,
I don't know about Taser.
Yeah, I mean, it's not 100%. It'll stop a lot of people if not expecting it, and they just drop down.
Yeah.
The thing for the police is that they got to get over there quickly and handcuff whoever it is, so that they don't, because it's not going to last forever either.
I want to get some kind of sonic weapon. So I shoot the guy with it, and he's bleeding out his ears, but I never got anywhere near him. And I said, I don't know what happened to him. He just.
Oh my God. I saw a movie late at night when that's the weapon they had. Yeah. It's about 100 years in the future. The other thing I'm working on is I'm looking really for people that want to be helping a large number of women in the future. It's a nonprofit.
Well, see, I'd be glad to help a large number of women. Not exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, protect them, Tom. I'm talking about protecting them.
That's different.
I'm talking about high school seniors going off to college next year. Also mom and dad, have to say bye. They're going to UCLA and they're in Nebraska. I mean, that's scary to have your daughter take off. Not going to see her until Christmas, Thanksgiving. So them, college co-eds, that are, kind of walking targets, where they go to fraternity parties and just, dorms and just going back and forth on campus at night. So them, and then nurses coming out for third shift. I mean, they're tired. They're, they just want to go to bed and they're not paying attention to anything. Realtors sitting in an open house, open season, anybody can walk through the door.
There's such a market out there as long as you can reach them.
It's a nonprofit that's working on a kit that I'm helping put together for them, but they need dollars. It's a nonprofit, so we want to sell the kits to the parents, probably of the women going out to college, or to the women themselves if they're nurses or realtors or single women that travel quite a bit and want to have something. It's a safety kit, so it's like a whole collage of things for them to keep them safe, traveling or in their house or apartment or in their dorm room. And I've been collecting pieces here and there to put this together as a kit. And then what I'd like to do is be available to go out and do a self-defense workshop for whatever group it is, and then have these kits available. So we're looking for.
Have they tried crowdfunding at all?
I don't think so. I don't know if that's what they want to do. I know that they have a couple of angel supporters angel investors, but I know they need probably a few more, and we're looking for those, or philanthropists, or somebody who just wants a tax write-off.
How much money are they looking for?
Oh gosh, I think we're 50, 100, 150,000, somewhere in there. I mean, it depends on how big we want to go.
I mean, I would volunteer to teach them crowdfunding if they wanted to, because that's a way to raise a lot of money, and you don't have to pay it back. You don't have any equity to give up or anything.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants me to do that, they'll just make an appointment. Take me about
Okay.
an hour to teach them how to do it.
Okay. I will. I'll keep that in mind too. I think they mentioned it, but I know that they were looking for investors to just help them, because I think that's how they operate too. A lot of the programs they have for school kids, for bullying and for some other things going on in the schools, they have just angel investors that write the check, and they can hire X amount of teachers with the amounts they have in. But I said I'd volunteer to be an instructor and go out and teach the self-defense, and maybe help get the kids out there, because they got to get them in the right hands, and it's just too difficult for them as a nonprofit to finance themselves. So I'll keep that in mind, and I'll talk to her. I'll talk to the director for you.
Yeah, and have you, I've been teaching speakers to do fundraising because, and it's not like you go speak at a charity event and then you hope somebody sees you and hires you. It's where you go to a group that's trying to raise funds, and they have members, and they promote your seminar to the members, and then you split the money. So,
Gotcha.
And there's very little competition in there compared to just trying to get speaking engagements, so forth. So, there's all kinds of ways to do it. And then regular sponsorship too is presenting yourself to people that want to be in front of the audience that you're in front of and get the goodwill out of it. I mean, some of these, I'll tell you a story about sponsorship. I had a student one time, he had this thing for kids, and he had a friend in a big insurance company, Mike. Mm-hmm. And the friend was kind of, showing him the ropes on how to apply for the sponsorship from this big insurance company. And so the guy figures out he needs about $100,000 to do this project. And he takes it to his friend that's the executive. And the executive says, "Are you kidding me?" He says, if you don't come in at least $250,000, they won't even think you're serious.
Right. Exactly.
Some of these big companies have more. I mean, I spoke at a place, they spent $1 million on the lunch. They had a band and stilt walk. I mean, so there's, if you know how to approach them, there's a lot of money out there for that.
Yeah, the other thing I tried a couple of years ago, but it ran out of gas, is doing a sponsorship kind of thing for doing seminars on college campuses, and just somebody that has the product or the service that appeals to that age group. The millennials and the kids that are 18 to 27 in that group, or their moms and dads would write the checks themselves. But if I had a sponsor for that, I would do that more often as well. I did it for ASU several times, but you have to have something consistent. I can't just block out time all over the calendar.
Yeah, right.
And I can't. There's no way you can charge the college kids. They're not gonna.
Right.
They were living from beer to beer. So. But I need. I'd love to get some ideas for the sponsor for the college tour again. But everything's been put on hold these last few months because of what's going on.
Yeah, especially when it's a physical thing that you have to do with this.
Yeah, exactly.
So how do people? What's that?
Go ahead.
I was just say, how do people get a hold of you?
Easiest way nowadays is just call me or text me at my number 480-221-0044. 480-221-0044, or they can just write Mike at, and all one word, takecontrolselfdefense.com.
Take control self-defense. We'll have all these in the show notes for you, because these have a long life, so they'll be able to get a hold of you. So thanks so much for coming on, man. It's good catching up with you.
Hey, I've got about 30 other topics I'd like to cover with you at some point.
Great. Yeah, we can do a whole series.
There's a lot of stuff going on in this country, Tom, too. It's just, and it's going to get worse. I hate to say it, but it's going to get worse. It got worse from July to now. I mean, it's never been worse. And I hate to say it, it's going to get worse violence-wise. People are just edgy. They're just angry. They're just frustrated. They're just, looking to take it out on somebody. So, unfortunately, because everybody's at home, a lot of them are taking out on their spouses or kids.
Yeah, that's even worse. And that's one of the big arguments is shutting the schools down. Yeah. These kids aren't eating right, and they're and the parents. One of the parents has to quit their job if they had a job and stay home, so that's more financial pressure. And then the abuse is, if it did happen, would not be reported. Nobody'd see it.
Nobody ever reports it. Nobody ever reports it. Like 1 out of 20.
Yeah, but if they were in school and somebody saw bruises, then maybe somebody could do something.
Exactly. And then what's going to be bad is that what is it? 3,100 people died one day last couple days ago. If that doesn't get any better, we're talking. I did the math. It's like 1.1 million people in the next year are going to be dead if it continues. And then who knows how long the vaccine is going to take effect? I don't even know how long it's going to take for everybody to get one.
Yeah, and they have to do 2 shots.
I know. Yeah, and the fear is they're not going back for the second shot. A lot of people go for one, and I'm not going back.
Yeah.
You know? And now they're running out of dry ice already. It's just starting. They're running out of dry ice already.
Boy, I wish we could pick the people that died from.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'll just target them. I got a few.
Yeah, we'll make a list.
I got that guy that attacked me when I was delivering pizzas. I'll have to find him again. You know?
All right, man. Boy. Well, yeah, we'll have you back and drop me a list of topics, and we'll have you back regularly because this is
I'd love to.
It's going to be needed more and more and more. And I have the brutal self-defense class, but it's just like I said, and a lot of people, until something happens, they don't think about it. Oh, it can't happen to me. Well,
no.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they don't think about CPR unless somebody's choking or falls off the boat. So. It always happens. Okay, buddy. Take care of yourself, and I'll send you a list. Yeah, and we'll put something together. I'd love to do this. It's fun.
Awesome. All right, good talking to you, man.
Okay, Tom. Take care of yourself. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. We will catch you all on the next episode. See you later.